wondered if we could kind of break it up in the back and get everybody to come up front and sit down, because Samantha Wendell is going to be our speaker tonight, and she doesn't have a big voice. They come and put their fanny on the so-called hot seat. I often look out in the audience and I see a lot of people going, "Don't pick me, don't pick me." Often we get an opportunity to find out things about our fellow members that we never, ever knew. You may have known that person for 20 years, not know where they grew up, not know they got 19 kids, not know they flunked out of junior high school. This is our opportunity to find out about our fellow members. Tonight I'm going to ask Samantha Wendell if she'll come up and sit down in the hot seat. Give her a hand. I'm going to give her the microphone. And I'm going to shoot some questions at her.
Okay.
There we go.
Can you hear me?
About how long, Samantha, have you been coming to Los Angeles Pigeon meeting?
I have been coming to Los Angeles Pigeon Club since April of '99.
That's a few years, gang. Where did you grow up, Samantha?
North Hollywood. Well, I was born in Burbank. Grew up in North Hollywood.
No kidding.
Yeah.
And I spent most of my life in Burbank. I learned my first fact of the evening that I didn't know. A fellow Burbanker.
Yes.
Where did you go to high school?
Well, I went to high school at Sacred Heart of Mary in Montebello because my mom died when we were little kids and we were put in boarding schools. So I was in a boarding school, but we went out to regular schools. They sent us out from the boarding school to go to regular grammar school, regular high school.
Do you have brothers and sisters?
One brother, 3 sisters.
I see. What about to your childhood? Was that a period where you had a lot of pets around you, or did animals come into your life later?
My brother found every pet we ever got pretty much on the street and brought them home and said, "Mom, can we keep it?" I mean, we had bulldogs, we had a family of cats. The cat was pregnant that he brought home, so we each got a cat. And my next door neighbor had a bunch of parakeets, and I had numerous parakeets from her. And I rode horses since I was little. My mom was from Texas, so she taught me how to ride a horse very young, and I rode horses for a long time.
After high school, what did you do? What was the next step in your life?
Well, I got a job, and I didn't like it, and I left, and I got another job, and then I went to junior college. I studied acting. I was into drama for quite some time. And then I got into painting. I'd always been drawing since I was a little kid. I drew on everything. I got kicked out of grammar school twice for drawing on the walls. And I just didn't stop. We had a giant roll of butcher paper at home, and I just kept rolling that thing and drawing on it at all times. And my mother seemed to think I had an issue, so she got me art lessons when I was little. And I've just been painting and drawing all my whole life, even when I was doing other things.
That's your main occupation then, and it has been for a long time, correct?
Yes. I went to UCLA for art, and I went to England right after I got out of UCLA because I didn't learn anything in UCLA. They were into abstract, and I really wasn't into that. I was into portraiture. So I went to England, and I studied there and in France. And I studied portraiture of animals and people. And I was in a rock band over in England. So, and I couldn't resist.
We're learning all kinds of things tonight.
It was a lot of fun over there. And so I came back to the USA, and I got a job at a billboard company for Tower Records. We did all those big billboards on all the Tower Records. And I worked in the music business for 10 years. And went out and took photos of all the rock groups around town. And got into, because somebody said to me, you know, you can paint billboards and you can paint copies of things. But if you take the photo, it's yours. It's an original piece that you see. So somebody, suggested get a camera and learn how to use it. So I did, and I started taking photos for the record companies and the rock groups, and then from there, I got into sports art via some guy that walked into the billboard company and said, "Can you do sports art?" And I said, "Ew, no." I couldn't stand the thought of it. But he said, "No, it's grown a lot, and you ought to see this gallery." So he took me over to this gallery, and it was spectacular art. And I got a job with the LA Kings doing photography for them in '91. And I did that for, I don't know, 12 years, something like that.
Did you do programs, or what did you do for the Kings?
I did a lot of paintings of the players that were auctioned at their charity. I did a lot of covers for the magazine that they put out for every game. And a lot of personal portraits of their kids.
Remember when I had?
And then from there, other teams got me to do things for them. I've gone all over the country doing hockey, basically. Philadelphia, Florida, both teams in Florida, Tampa Bay and the Panthers. And we just finished the 49ers' new Levi Stadium, where I did some work up there I did pretty much the people. They had a landscape painter, they had a abstract people, they had, different people that did different things. And I did
Can I bring a couple samples of your sports art over and tell us a little bit about it?
Sure.
Oh, yeah.
When I went up there, I went to Gilroy, invited these guys, and they couldn't make it to the opening of the arena. I thought, you're really missing out. It was spectacular, the Levi Stadium. And we weren't allowed to go on the field, but we did.
Who are we looking at right here?
Montana.
Joe, Montana. Now, when you paint these pictures, do you have an opportunity to actually interact with the players at all? Or are you painting from a photograph?
Well, I paint from a photograph, but they sign them at an event, and that's when I meet them and talk. We get together to sign them. He signs them, I sign them at an event, whether it's going to be auctioned or whatever. Whoever we do. Roy Firestone, I've known him since I started doing sports art, and he knows the legends. He knows everybody who's anybody. And I get to meet an awful lot of amazing people through him. Agassi, I know Honor Palmer, Jack Nicklaus, everybody. You name it. Tiger is not too popular.
Look at the wonderful detail.
It was almost, but not quite.
Look at the wonderful detail where it's down to the eyelashes.
He was in that popular for a while.
No, but he's made a huge comeback. He's a very nice man now. Yeah. He wasn't, but he is now. Back in the day, I painted him and put it in a gallery in Vegas. He walked in and goes, "You can't paint me. Take that down." And then he signed it.
Here is a big one, huh?
This is one I did for the Miami Marlins. And as I finished 6 paintings for them, they traded all the guys away. So I got the painting back. So, I'm taking it to, I have it at the LA County Fair in case a fan happens to come by, and I'll sell it to them.
Can you tell us a little bit about what you're doing at the fair right now in regards to promoting Pigeon?
Oh, yeah, well, of course. I'm at the LA County Fair. What I love is when no matter where I go and who I meet, I casually mention LA Pigeon Club, and they go, "What? Pigeon Club? There's a Pigeon Club?" I said, "Oh yeah," but now I have the literature to pull out and show everybody. And it's like that guy at the hotel said, remember when you wanted to book it? And he said, 7,000 pigeons, are you kidding me? Well, that's how people react. They say, "Well, we got to see this." So they take the card, they take the postcards. And so, bring Franny's picture over here with the Stanley Cup. I put Franny in the Stanley Cup.
Is he still alive? Or is he still
Franny didn't like it too well.
Is the bird still around?
Oh, yeah. But see, at the LA County Fair, I couldn't take him into the art gallery. They wouldn't let any animals in the art gallery.
Now we're getting into pigeon painting.
Yeah.
This is her famous and favorite bird. Tell us a little bit about him.
France. I got
France.
him in July of '99 when he was 1 month old from Mouse Dickinson. And they told me, oh, take this bird off of our hands. He's not the right color. He'll never win. And I said, what am I going to do with a pigeon? And they said, oh, you'll love it. Don't worry, you'll love it. So that bird's been with me for 15 years, going on 15 and a half.
And where's his favorite spot?
His favorite spot was me.
On your shoulder, right?
Wherever I am.
On your shoulder.
Yeah. But he didn't like being in the cup. There's pictures of him jumping out of the cup in the book there. He wasn't too thrilled with that. But I pretty much try to take him everywhere that I go because it's just fun to have a pigeon, and then people just, they react so weird. They say, that's a pigeon? And the first thing people do is they say, oh, pigeon poop, and they start looking for poop on the floor. And I say, everybody poops. You know, what is the problem with pigeons? I mean, you know what I'm saying? Why do they pick up pigeons so badly? I mean, really? I mean, pigeons?
What can you do?
So I try to explain it to them, and now that I have all these wonderful books that I've gotten over the years here, these catalogs and whatever,
Why don't you take a
I
look
really
and
can get
see?
into it with people and tell them all about it.
Show them the details.
And then they really get interested when they see exotic pigeon pictures. They especially, they don't understand it, so it's exciting to them. They pigeons, look at all this. And so I'm thinking maybe 10 or 12 people are going to come just from the fair.
For an actual, just from your...
Just from the fair. Yeah, they're so intrigued by it. They can't wait. And they don't believe we have that many pigeons in one room. I can't wait.
I'd like to share with you one little story about this piece of artwork that Samantha did for me. I was in Australia in 2011, and after the show, I was taken out to a old, I believe he was Scottish, a man named Fitzsimmons' house. And he was proudly showing me around his home, his trophies and things that he had accumulated over the years. He took me into the den, and he had this painting on the wall that he had had since like 1908. And being the pigeon art collector that I was, and this guy's about 90, I said, would you be willing to sell that painting? Oh no, that's going to die with me. That is my favorite painting. I said, well, would you mind if I took a photograph? He said, no, you can take all the photographs you want. So I came home with that photograph, and who did I go to? Samantha Wendell. I said, will you make me a copy of this painting? I know it's the only duplicate in the world. She did this for me about 2 years ago.
Who did
and
the
it's
original?
one of my proud possessions. These are birds that were painted about right around 1900. Look at the necks, for example, on the swallows, how thin they are. You can see the progress of the birds and things.
The sports.
Samantha, also you've done 2 of our famous LAPC members, paintings of them. You want to tell us a little bit about that?
I did dinosaurs with Governor Arnold, and I did Tom McKay with one of his pigeons that's still here, right? That pigeon, Lane held that pigeon with the white jacket on, and that pigeon's still around, right? Tom's pigeon. It was there at the last San Bernardino show that we posed in the jacket for Tom and Dennis with the pigeons.
That was given to his wife.
Yeah.
She has the painting, of course.
Yes.
Tom McKay.
And my next thing that I'm trying to put together is this. Roy Firestone knows everybody. And I said, how would you like to do a nice charity with Mike Tyson? And he said, oh, yeah. I said, with his pigeons. He goes, really? I said, you gotta have it all together. You gotta, Mike won't come to your show unless you let him bring his pigeons. So we're gonna try to do this. I really want to do this because Mike is trying so hard to get people to understand how much pigeons mean to him. And no one's willing to listen in the outside world. They don't get it. they think, oh, pigeons, you know, but it's his whole life. Even if he's a pain, his whole life is his pigeons and his family. So I'd like Roy to help promote that.
That would be very, very nice.
That'd be good.
Surprising how many people have no idea.
No,
about pigeons.
none at all.
I was at a smart final store the other day and happened to meet the president of the company. And
You gotta speak up, George, the people behind you can't hear.
I was just telling her. And
Samantha, what about plans for the future? Are there some projects or goals that you'd like to achieve in the future? Have you any bucket list that you're working on? Do you want to?
Quite, I actually have,
What's that? I'm sorry, I told you I'm weird tonight.
you know, it's funny, I'm one of these people that I'm like an actor in the sense that I never know where my next job is coming from. And I have been doing really, really, really well and not so really, really well. Up there, down there, I never know what is coming down the road. Oh, never know what's coming down the road that I'm gonna get going. But there's a couple things on the bucket list I want to do. I'm going to be painting Pope Francis with my pigeon named Francis on his shoulder. I'm going to send it to him, say hello from the LAPC to the Pope. And there is a famous nun. Her name is Dolores Hart from the 50s. She was a famous actress with Elvis and everybody who became a nun. And of course, it blew everybody away. I remember being in school thinking, what? What? You know, but you know, she had an interview, and when she was sitting at the monastery before she entered it, she was sitting in a park, and she looked down, and she saw the pigeons around where she and the other people were sitting, and she said, that little pigeon was the most beautiful creature I have ever seen in my life. And to this day, I think of God's beauty in that little pigeon. So I want to paint her with that pigeon on her shoulder. It's just a feral pigeon, but I thought that might be something nice. That's a bucket list thing that I want to do. Plus, just I really am enjoying the fair. I'm meeting all kinds of people. I'm meeting horse people and all kinds of different people who want different things, changes, animals. I'm really into meeting animals and people.
And where do you live now? What town?
North Hollywood.
You're in North Hollywood. And how many pigeons do you have?
Right now, I only have my one. I used to have like 65 in an aviary until some neighbors called animal rig. And I had, in 2007, I lost all my pigeons. I got homes for them all over the place. But I have a wild flock, and I have quite a few interesting breeds that come in with the wild flock because there's a couple guys that near me that have lofts, and I get a lot of high flyers. Persian, Armenian. I get a lot joining my flock. I feed about 35 pigeons in the backyard just to check on who's flying in, who's flying out. But I can't keep them unless I move. I can't keep pigeons again.
Are you on a real small lot?
No, an average lot, but the city of LA, they brought me the piece of paper, you know, it's this ordinance, and they call them poultry.
Most of us are like that. If
Yeah.
you live in the city, you can't have
You
pigeons.
can't have pigeons, they
You
call them
can't have
poultry.
pigeons. You're lucky your grandfathered in, but if somebody moved into your house.
Chris is grandfathered in too. You know, Chris that used to come, he's got pigeons all over the place, they can't touch him. He's lived in that house since he was born.
His grandfather.
He's grandfathered in, he got a lawyer on it and the whole thing. They tried to force his pigeons out. And he got a lawyer and he won.
Have we got any questions from the audience that you'd like to ask Samantha?
Yes, why haven't you shown a picture that you did for me?
Well, you're
Why
supposed to
didn't
hold
you?
it up.
All right,
I
let
just,
me
I
get
just, I
that.
just touched up this painting for Kathy. It's from the 1950s. It's her and her sisters. And it fell off in the earthquake, and I just retouched it for them. The fairs.
She not only paints original, she does touch-ups as well.
That thing is trashed.
Not saying that Kathy needs touch-ups.
You better not say that.
Which one is Kathy in there, huh?
The blonde, the blonde.
Circa 1955.
And my mom
That's
they're
beautiful.
right
Your
down.
mother and all the sisters.
No, my mother's out of there.
Wasn't your
Just
mother
all
in there?
five
I'm
sisters.
sorry, yeah.
But she's older.
Yeah, Judy's 13 years old.
Oh.
See how much it cost? $21.99.
For a painting in the 1955.
I think my mom told my dad that.
That's ridiculous.
I think it was probably
I
more.
think anybody could paint a painting in 1995.
I think she did
Unless-
that. She did that because my dad thought it was probably.
And that's that.
Well, thank you, Samantha. It was really enlightening and fun.